Hello and welcome to a new video on the Think, Design, Work Smart YouTube channel from Mozaic Works. Today I will have someone who is very keen on programming, on legacy code, and we have collaborated together for the last few years on several things, but probably the thing that we worked more was a conference, an online conference during the pandemic about legacy code. So I will ask Nicolas about his experience and how we got there. So welcome, Nicolas. Thank you for being part of this conversation.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Adi. I'm really glad to be here.
So we know each other for a while. I think we met in Paris, right? If I remember well, when you were living in Paris. Now you live in Montreal in Canada.
Exactly, yes.
And yeah, typically my first question is, how did you end up as a programmer? Why did you choose to have this career to work like in this area?
Yeah, that's interesting. I started programming when I was 15 years old. So I cannot say that I really started with a computer. It was quite late, and I was not doing programming studies or stuff like that. It was something I was interested in because I think it all started because I was discussing on forums, and I wanted to format my messages better. So I learned BB code and then HTML, and that got tricked me into learning HTML, then CSS, then JavaScript, and this was in 2005, something like that. And I continue getting more and more into these languages, so JavaScript and then PHP, so starting to do backend, etc. While I was doing studies for completely unrelated stuff, I did a lot of chemistry first, and then finally I went into a business school. I got a business school diploma, actually. But the more I went into this on the side, the more I became proficient and the more I enjoyed it. And finally, it turns out that in the last few years of my studies, my business school studies, I started doing like freelance programming. So my first paid job, except for summer job, was really for programming small websites, like doing screen integrations purely in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript first, and then finally doing actual websites with a backend. And that's how it started for me. And then I get completely into this, and I never get back.
So then I think we met during some of the Paris software craft communities or something like that, right? I don't remember exactly who organized it, but I know it was in Paris.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, well, that's also a cool story. Yeah, we met because I wanted to organize a code retreat in Paris. I was working for Octo Technology at this point. Octo Technology is a company with a very strong culture into software craftsmanship. And I can say they put me into it. So I programmed and everything, and I did some professional work. I got into meetups, but mostly meetups about technologies like Backbone JS or Angular JS, like stuff like that. And I met people working for Octo Technology, and they got me into software craftsmanship and the crafters community. And when I wanted to organize sometime later, like few years later, I wanted to organize a code retreat for Octo Technology in Paris. I contacted you because I wanted you to be the facilitator of that. So we arranged all of this, and that's when we really met together. I was the organizer, and you were the facilitator of this event.
Yeah, I know. I was doing
that's it.
a lot of events in all over Europe, and things are a bit blurry sometimes. So yeah, I think Octo has a very strong, powerful idea around crafting. And did it help you in a way, together with the communities, to learn things, or how was your experience? Why did you choose to, in a way, spend your time in this way?
Yeah, well, I really got into it because it answered a lot of the questions I had when I was developing on my own and trying to learn how to program better and have less bugs and like do things in a way that I won't have to fix that later. And I had a lot of questions, and these people provided me with a lot of answers and a lot of new techniques that will apply regardless of the language. And if I was doing front end and back end, and these techniques apply to both. So I really fell in love with all of this, and also I was able to finally put a name on all of this, like software crafter, software craftsmanship in general, all of these concentrated best practices on building software that is maintainable over time. So Octo really helped me, and then the Software Crafters Paris community really helped me, I would say, improve the way I program by learning, by being in contact with all of these people. I learned a ton of things by being in contact with all of these experienced people, like Christophe Thibault, for example. Was lucky to work with him, and I discovered mob programming. I practiced that with him, and many other stuff. And finally, I was also able to train and coach other people into learning what I learned. And that helped me also understand the things better. Mm-hmm. And that was a reinforcing loop of I am learning things, and then I'm teaching other people these things, so I understand them better. Yeah. And then with time, I was, time was playing for me.
Did it happen to you to feel that when you were explaining, you started to learn more? Like when you try to teach, you know that you don't know enough, so you need to learn more so that you can teach it better?
Yes, because either because someone will ask a question and I never thought about this before, so I need to find the answer. Or sometimes when I prepare what I want to explain and I want to organize the thoughts into something like some logical path, that I realize, I don't know about this, or I'm not sure about this. Like, how is this connection happening? Is this true? Is this not? And I need to dig into. It raises a lot of questions that I need to answer, and that's how you really understand the details, and not just how to do it, but why it's working, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always interesting to look at how to pass from knowing something to teaching it. It's not always an easy step, and I think not everybody's doing that.
Yeah, at some point, I think people in their career, they have to do that. Like when you get more experience, you are supposed to train and onboard other developers who are more junior, and that's true. We are not really trained into teaching others, because you may be able to do something very well, but how do you explain someone else how to do it? And I'm happy that Octo helped me do that, because it's a very valuable skill for me every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, after that, I think we also, or at least I know I was coming over to different events at the Software Craft community in Paris, and it's always or it was before the pandemic, a very lively community. I hope it will be the same after we'll be able to organize things and maybe get back to a certain normality. And yeah,
Yes.
it was a really nice community. I really enjoyed always being there. I guess Paris
Yeah,
was useful.
yeah. Paris, the community in Paris is very, very mature and very active. It helped me. In Europe, I would say in general, there is a lot of good communities, like active and mature communities. I moved to Canada 3 years ago, 3 years and a half. And when I arrived in Montreal, in Quebec, I was looking for a community and I didn't find any, uh, which is interesting because it does not mean no one cares about like these practices like testing, TDD, etc. There are people really into that kind of thing, but there is no word put on these practices yet. So these people are like doing that on their own, on their side, and not really finding all the resources they need or meeting the people they would like to. And so I created the community in Montreal, Canada. And a lot of the things I've learned in the Paris software crafters community, I tried to apply to Canada, to Montreal, and it worked well. Module of the pandemic, of course, that's been a year and a half that
Yeah.
we haven't met anymore. But the community was growing, and it was nice to see all of these people progressively like saying, "Oh, that's a topic I'm really interested in too," but I didn't know there was other people like me interested in that topic. So it's always. I hope that with time we will have an active community such as the one in Paris.
So connecting people together is already a great thing. Although after that, they can find their own topics, their topics of interest, right?
Yeah. Well, so progressively I became an organizer of meetups and then conferences. Um, the role of the organizer is mostly to make the thing happen, and then the speakers and the attendees, or in the case of a meetup, it's essentially the attendees do the rest. They do the content. So you're just here to make the logistics happen and make people meet together, and then a lot of good things are happening every time. So that's great.
Yeah, that's the sign of a lively community. And if it happens like that, then probably your effort is not that big compared to be needing to push always and come up with topics and so on.
Yeah, well, that's the difference also with the format of the software crafters meetup, as I know it, at least, which is more like lean coffee or open space. Generally it's open space, so there is no. It's not a lineup of speakers doing their talk and then the people leave the meetup. It's much more discussions and people proposing topics and then joining, forming groups, voting for topics and forming groups and discussing. So at the beginning, for people who are not used to this format, it's surprising, but like it was maybe a bit difficult the first few meetups because you had to explain to the people, and then progressively people loved the interactions, and so you get enough people knowing the format, so the new people are onboarded, and now it's living on its own, I would say. So this format really works well, and it doesn't require, as you said, a lot of work from the organizer. I don't need to find speakers. I don't need to prepare a talk. I just need to make the event happen, facilitate, and then the people are doing the content, and it's usually very good moments.
Did you see differences in topics or in things that people are interested about in between, I don't know, France, Paris, and Montreal?
Yes, I did. I would say the Montreal community is a bit more junior than the Paris one. In Paris, I would usually see more advanced topics, but you have people who have been coming here for years and years, so they are really advanced, and they don't need an introduction to DDD. Some people still do, but a lot of people don't in Paris, so they want more advanced topics. Versus in Montreal, yet most people are looking for an introduction to these topics. So we still have a lot of these subjects coming up, like I want to learn what is this, and so that will be the difference.
Yeah, because, well, I observed, probably I've been organizing events like that for, I don't know, 12 years, 13, 14, I don't even remember, somewhere around that area. And I saw that every 3 or 4 years you have a cycle of newcomers to the community who want again an introduction in something or something else. So the people who, a lot of people who go to these communities, at least in my experience, they don't come back one moment, and you have a lot of people who are new and you need to start again. So there are these cycles of a community, at least if it lives a lot longer. I don't know how was with Paris, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's something I will, for the moment, we are not here there yet in Montreal, but that's something I know and keep in mind. I think at some point you also want, like when you're an advanced practitioner, for example, you may be more interested in meeting other advanced practitioners to really dig into some topics deep. And so maybe you need to have some other kind of events for these people. And that could be the same community organizing these events, but like events for advanced, I don't know, DDD, and then you put a topic and you will get these people back probably. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. You need to do that. You need to spice it up in a way.
Yes, yeah, you need to vary because you will always have newcomers, and that's great because more and more people get into programming. I know a bunch of people now who are reconverted into programming, so you will have a lot of new developers who need to get introduced to all of this. So that's totally fine. But of course, at some point, like with a mature community, like in Paris, you have people who they don't want like the 5th introduction to DDD or to that kind of things. So they need more. So you need to vary a little bit the kind of events you are doing, and that's where the organizer really can play a role in fostering the community. So that makes it really interesting, but it's also a bit of work. So I'm also thinking about not being the only one doing that. And I started to find other people to help me do that. So it's not just on me. You know.
Yeah, I always recommend pairing. Of course, I am a big fan of pairing. So I always recommend pairing also in these situations. At least have someone else. If you don't have a group of people who organize, but at least two.
That's what we're doing. So Damien Beaufils, who is the CTO, if I'm not mistaken, CTO of Zenica Montreal, is helping me. And I also get a lot of help from Khaled Souf, who worked for Zenica temporarily in Montreal, and then he just came back to France. And other people in the community have also been helpful, animating some events. So I think people all over the world, they are really interested into that topic. You will find people motivated and a lively community, but it usually takes at least someone to kickstart the make the people meet together and do the logistics, and then people will catch up and start doing it for you. But
so did you start having a focus on legacy code when you started this community Montreal, or was it an older thing that you were interested in from France, from when you were living in France?
No, so legacy code. It was not a topic I had in mind for social crafters. We're talking about many different topics, but then I put a bigger focus on legacy code. I started that in January 2020, and that comes from my own experience of I was a freelance developer, then I worked for a startup, then I was a consultant, and then I worked for another more advanced startup in Montreal. And every single time or every single client when I was a consultant, most of my work was to work with existing code and teams and maintain that. And there was a lot of challenges just on this topic because there is a lot of content about how you do things, how you build new things, like again, practice BDD, practice DDD, etc., etc., or TDD. But what if you already have something that works and you need to maintain that? So, well, legacy code. I had a lot of personally, I wanted to learn more how to deal with it. So I did that, and I hope it was helpful also to help me dig into that topic. And I did a lot of trainings. I started doing a lot of trainings internally in my new employer. So that was BuzzBud internally. And then at some point in January 2020, I decided, well, you know what? Many other people have this problem. Actually, I found communities about people who call themselves menders in opposition to makers. So people who really enjoy maintaining existing code bases. And I got into this and I decided, well, I want to share what I learned, and I'm still learning a lot of things to the public, like not just internally in my company, but to this community and then worldwide. So more people can learn about these communities and join, because that's the same. Like we're talking about crafters, but there are many, many people struggling maintaining existing and legacy code bases. So I want to tell these people that they're not alone. There are techniques that they can learn to help them do the work. They can join. So that's when I started. I started blogging with understandlegacycode.com. So that's the blog I started put the content. And then progressively, because I was writing about it, I get in touch with different mentors, different people expert into that. So I learned from them, and I got into some podcasts also to talk about this topic, like the Maintainable podcast, for example. And then, like quickly after, we started the Legacy of SoCraTes conference. So maybe you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. That was interesting. So there is this Slack group, I guess, right? Channel, I don't know, from the software crafters that exists for a long time. I don't know. It started, I think, when Slack started being popular. Many people from SoCraTes felt like there is a need of this type of international place to chat. So there's these channels there, and I don't remember. I think you said that you'd like to do something on this, and in a way, we played some kind of ping pong. Like, what if we do this? What if we do that?
Yeah, I remember. It's so the pandemic started, and so sorry, I rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was in 2019. I was in Montreal for a year and a half, and the meetup was going well. Damien has joined me. Zenica was supporting us, BuzzBud too, and then we decided that we would organize a SoCraTes Canada, because that also didn't exist. So we wanted to do a first edition of SoCraTes Canada, and we did that in March 2020. Basically one week before the lockdown everywhere. So we did that. It went well, and as usual, at the end, we were like, oh, we want to stay in touch. And then we had the pandemic and the lockdown. And then after the lockdown, I was like, oh, we probably are not gonna meet again for a while, and SoCraTes Canada for the next year was compromised.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we didn't do a SoCraTes this year. So I was doing some legacy code specific stuff. So I was thinking about this, and I suggested, hey, is someone interested to organize something remote about legacy? And you were also on that channel and interested. And so, we had this little back and forth of what if we do that, etc. We tried to imagine something. And then I think we basically decided to give it a try and see how it goes.
Yeah. In parallel, I was building the Mozaic Works studio for that. We started it, I think, 6 months before or 9 months before the pandemic started, and then we were prepared for anything. We basically wanted and still want, and we are still doing that, to record, to go more on the e-learning side. So that's why we have a studio with computers and lights and good microphones and so on. And so when the pandemic started, for us it was kind of easy to go on the online conferences. We had all the equipment, or almost all the equipment, so it was easy. I said, why not? It's kind of easy for me to do that. So that was the reason. And I think I like legacy code, even though I even have a series on legacy code that I published on YouTube on some of the maybe basic or not necessarily basic. Most of them are basic, but techniques which I tried to do in a codecast format and on the blog. So I always enjoyed legacy code.
They're good.
Yeah, so why
they're
not?
Good. They're usually part of the
please.
They are part of the resources I tend to share, because you do have I like that you show how to do it. So I have a couple of videos, and yours included, into showing people how to apply some of the basic techniques. But in general, you don't need a lot of techniques, and you don't need super convoluted techniques. Most people I met, they don't necessarily know about the basic techniques, and just learning this help them do have a less miserable time at work, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I imagine, and that was somehow in my. I wanted to do that, and that was way before even thinking about building a studio. In a way, that whole experience of recording this codecast and the codecast for the TDD as if you meant it, and a few other things. Remote pair programming. This gave me a lot of experience of knowing what to do with video and audio and how to record it. So it was a progressive thing in a way. So things intertwine in very interesting ways. I think now we're on we had the 6th edition of Legacy of SoCraTes before, like, this month, right?
It was this month, indeed.
And I think that now we start to see traction, especially on the YouTube channel where we put all the videos. And then that's interesting. People seem to continuously be interested about this topic, and I think it's an interesting format to have of this conference.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't get the last thing you said.
I said it's an interesting format of this conference, and we will definitely go on.
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting one, because we're not doing something that is big. Like, it's not a full-fledged conference with speakers, etc. Like, I would not be into a big conference, because I find it different and challenging as a speaker, but also as an attendee for like attending an online conference that is the whole day and
Yeah.
maybe multiple days. It's not the same when you're behind your computer than when you can go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not that much into it. But this is interesting because the format is way shorter. It's usually 4 or 5 hours. People can come and go as they want. It's more like we schedule 4 or 5 talks on legacy code from speakers who already usually have their talk prepared. So they really know the topic. And people can attend, and when they attend, they can interact and ask questions, like in the chat between them, but then also with the speaker. So we had great speakers like Emily Bash, for example, and it's a great opportunity to ask questions. And then afterwards, and very quickly, because you're doing an amazing job with all of your setup, we have the videos available online for free on YouTube. And I see this as a catalog. It's a unique catalog of many talks about legacy code. So if people are really looking into that topic and they want to learn, they can go on the channel, and they have I think we have like 24, 30, around 30 videos
something
already
like that,
on the topic. So yeah, definitely, we'll definitely keep doing that. I think even after the pandemic is over, the format is cool. And
yeah, I think it offers a lot of benefits because we bring people from all over the world, and it's tough to have them in the same place, to have let's say an open space or a traditional conference with everyone. I know I have organized conferences for so many years, and I know what means costs and being afraid that you don't have sponsors or tickets or whatever format. So it's very strenuous on everyone who's involved in organizing it. Here the costs are minimum, so the most that can happen is to say someone will not be able to join from the speakers, and that's all. So it's a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a lot easier. It's much more flexible, and also the speakers, they like it. And we're doing a good job, I think, at also trying to represent different topics and different people. So I always pay attention, for example, that it's not only a male lineup. And last edition, one speaker asked me that, like, he was looking for the code of conduct is present, and also the inclusiveness of the conference. So you could see that usually you have half women, half men, and we try to keep that balance. So no, I think there is a healthy movement going on, so I'm happy to keep doing that with you. It's also always fun to do that. So.
yeah, it takes a day, but that's fine. A day every 3 months or something like that. That's nice to have. Have you done anything else? Anything new? Anything interesting on this topic on legacy code?
But yeah, actually, a few months ago, so after blogging and talking and all of that for a while, I finally put 14 of the techniques that I use the most, or at least that are the most efficient to tackle existing code that is not tested, and when you have short deadlines. So I have a backlog of many techniques I know and practice and want to try also. So I picked the one that worked best for me, and I put that into an ebook, and I published the ebook online. So I call that the Legacy Code First Aid Kit. It's my first aid kit, at least. It's not really a book. It's more, I try to go straight to the point to, okay, technique number 1, when to use it, how it works, why it works, and different couple edge cases with code examples and how to do it. And I put that in an ebook. So that's the recent work I've been working on. And you know that writing a book takes some time and energy and dedication, because you also did publish one recently.
Yeah. I published 3, but the last one was with a publisher. The other one, the others were self-published, and yeah, it's difficult. It is. It's very complicated.
Yeah. So that was a big project and a big milestone for me. So I did that. I'm happy now. I've completed most of my 2021 year's goal. I wanted to publish the book this year. I did it, so I'm happy. So
Yeah.
that's mostly it. Then I keep blogging regularly and organizing this conference. Uh, that's mostly my day. I'm looking forward the day where we can meet people again in real life in Montreal to have the meetups kickstart again. Maybe this autumn, we will see. But that's mostly it these days.
Yeah, that's very well. It's something that we all want to do.
Yes.
I have some other maybe weird questions. I stole them from Alex, from my brother, who's doing a set of questions at the end, but I'll steal some of them, just not all of them. So one of his question is, what books or what set of books do you enjoy reading? Types of books. I mean, not necessarily one specific book, if you have one, or if you can have examples. But what books do you enjoy reading?
So, well, besides programming, the kind of books I like to read for me are personal productivity books, like time management, stuff like that, like deep work or atomic habits. Recently, I read this one, and it's really, really a good one. So this kind of books I like to read because it's like a process of personal continuous improvement. I try to have a healthy work-life balance, but I also commit to a lot of projects. So my daily work, but also I do some open source. I do organize these conferences. I do attend. I have the meetups and all of this. So that takes a lot of time, and I want not to spend all of my time doing this. So I try to improve how I work to be more efficient, so I can have also time for me and my family. And so far, I'm happy with what I get from these books. So I can recommend to people who would like to get into more projects to take some time, to invest some time into reading that kind of book. So Deep Work, Atomic Habits are the two main ones. Getting Things Done is interesting, also.
A classic.
And yeah, a classic one, but so efficient. So yeah, I would not overload people with book recommendation, but the three. And then that's when I'm in a holidays mode. I usually pick some science fiction or polar, absolutely non-technical, nothing to make you think, but things to enjoy. So I can disconnect completely from work, and I just spend a whole week reading books, enjoying I don't know, sun or whatever, friends, and yeah, I do that sometimes.
So what types of books don't you enjoy reading, or you wouldn't read, or genres, or?
Oh, or I wouldn't read.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess some. But yeah, I used to read when I began my career. I used to read books about a specific technology or a specific framework, or like, I don't know, a PHP 4 or 5, or get to know, I don't know, RxJS, this, etc. I don't read this kind of books anymore. I try to. I'm not interested anymore into a specific tool or technique or language, and more about the philosophy or the approach. So I would read, for example, a book on reactive programming in general, eventually using examples in with the tool. But I'm not into I don't like reading a book that is just about a specific technology.
Okay.
That will be for the technical ones, and then for the non-technical ones, well, it depends. I don't like that much reading
Autobiographical books.
Yeah, autobiographical. I cannot say it. Autobiographical books. Yeah, I don't like that too much. I'm not into it. Political books neither. I'm not that much into it, but that's more it's because I cannot get into the style or the what is being told, the story. I either like to completely disconnect and think about something else, so I'm in holidays mode, or I want this to be something I could apply to help me improve in a specific topic. So I would be strategic in the kind of book I want to read, and the rest I would ignore.
Yeah, it makes sense. Another interesting question that Alex poses is, what would you ask to a person who is beginning their career now as programmer? What do you'd ask them to be, or to learn, or to do? Or in a way, what would you do? What would you tell yourself? Maybe, I don't know, when you started this career, what to do and what not to do?
I think I was lucky in that sense, because I would recommend getting in touch with people who are into, so I would say crafters. What I really mean is people who are not just into the tooling and the language. So, for example, spend a bit less time in React, Angular, Vue, whatever meetup, or at least go to meetups where people are talking about practices in general, things that will be valuable regardless of the tool and the language, because this is much more useful on the long run. I mean, I've been an organizer of the Backbone.js Paris meetup. This meetup died because no one is doing Backbone.js anymore, except people who need to maintain these old applications. You don't know how long React will live. It has been here for quite a long time for front-end framework, at least in JavaScript. But you don't know. Maybe in 5 years it won't exist anymore. But writing automated tests, or readable code, or knowing how to review code someone else has written, knowing how to read complex code, these are techniques that you will always have to apply and will be useful in the long run. So yeah, be careful. You need to, at the beginning especially, you need to hone your skill and be able to learn languages and framework, be able to do something and learn how it's working. But quickly, I would recommend people to get in touch with the crafters community somewhere, to meet people who will give them a long-term vision on their skills, because I meet senior developers who never get in touch with these people, and they may have, I don't know, 20, 30 years of experience when they're not managers at this point, but still they don't really know how to write automated tests. So the project mostly relies on their own personal skill, and when they're sick or they're gone, it's a nightmare to maintain. So it's not the number of years, it's the quality of what you learn during these years that makes a difference. I've met, on the other hand, I've met young people, quite junior, but I don't know why they got into these communities, and they are good because they're asking the good questions already. So I don't know how good these people will become in a couple of years when they gain more technical experience, but I'm pretty impressed. So I will recommend that.
Yeah, very good and sane advice. So we're getting towards the end of our chat. I wanted to ask you what are your future plans? What if you have anything that you plan to do next, and you can say if it's not a secret yet.
Oh yeah, no, I usually don't have secrets. So I just changed company. That wasn't expected, but I finally quit BuzzBud, which is a very great place to work. But I got proposed a good opportunity to work on a topic that I'm passionate about, which is personal productivity. So I'm now working for Well-Centered. I got the their T-shirt here, but yeah, that's what I'm doing at work. So really exciting new work. I started recently, and it's really exciting. That's on my side, and then personally. So we're planning a SoCraTes Canada next year. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And about legacy code, I will keep doing that. I have. I'm not exactly sure, but there is one thing I really want to do. I've been working on automated refactoring tooling for VS Code because I use VS Code a lot and JavaScript, TypeScript a lot, and it's lacking the automated refactorings that you can have in different languages and editor. So I'm working on that a lot, and I realized that a lot of people, at least in the JavaScript, TypeScript community, they don't know that much of automated refactorings and refactorings in general. So I will probably build tools and probably training around that specifically for these people, because that's I would say, the technology I'm using the most. And I really want to improve people's life when working with code by automated refactorings can really make you speed up or save your life when you don't have. I remember I've practiced a few coding exercises where we don't have tests, but we don't write tests. First, we only rely on automated refactorings to transform the code. And that's one of the techniques you have at your disposal when you know how to use it. Mm-hmm. So you can safely change code, well, yeah, more safely. But it takes some learning and practice. So that will be my next project, something around refactoring training. I don't know, I will maybe do a course or something related to the tooling I'm building to help people do that. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, like an interesting project. I never took the time to do such things, always doing other things. Yeah.
You cannot say, you cannot do everything.
Yeah, you need to choose.
Also, yes.
So where can people find you? What's if anyone wants to look you up, where can people find you?
Sure. Well, the two main places where you can find me. Well, first you can go on understandlegacycode.com and you will find my contact information. But usually I'm very active on Twitter. I mean, if you want to reach me out, you can contact me on Twitter. I don't know if you will put my handle, but in case not,
I will.
Okay.
But it's good to,
so it's Nicolas.
To say it as well. Yeah.
Okay, so it's Nico Espeon, so NicoEspeon. Yeah, or you look for Software Crafters Montreal, and you will find me in some of the different places I'm doing stuff. Or Legacy of SoCraTes channel, you will find. Well, there are many places where you can find me. If you contact me on Twitter, I will usually reply, and my DMs are open. So yeah, that's the best way to reach me out.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add? That's something that we didn't cover and you'd like to mention?
No, that was an interesting conversation. A lot of memories from the past. So thank you for this.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, thank you, Nicolas, for being part of this conversation on the Think Design Work Smart channel. As you know, we are putting videos every week on our channel with well, conversations or other things. We started also an idea on focused chats where we have shorter videos on one topic. So feel free to look into previous conversations that we had on this channel. And until next time, please remember to think, design, and work smart.